The Karath Dominion fleet moved like a dark shadow across the stars, a massive armada of sleek metallic ships cutting through the vast emptiness of space. Each vessel was a masterpiece of alien engineering, bristling with weapons and sensors, designed to dominate and destroy. Their destination was clear, the outer rim of human-controlled space where small, scattered colonies had recently begun to thrive. These colonies were young and fragile, yet the Dominion had heard rumors about secret technologies hidden within, technologies that could shift the balance of power in the galaxy. The Dominion commanders were sure the humans were weak, inexperienced, and easy prey for their superior might. The officers gathered in the command centers of their ships, exchanging confident reports and strategic plans, their voices full of certainty and disdain for their primitive opponents. They talked openly about how quickly they would break the human defenses, how little resistance they expected, and how this conquest would be another step toward expanding their empire. But beneath the proud words and tactical briefings, a subtle but growing tension spread through the ranks, a tension born from whispered rumors and strange encounters reported by the scouts. Some veteran Karath officers spoke quietly among themselves, sharing tales that sounded more like stories than fact. They spoke of strange signals detected far beyond the frontier, signals that did not match any known communication or weapon pattern. They described fleeting glimpses of massive shapes in the darkness, shapes that moved with a grace and speed unlike any known Karath technology. These stories had been dismissed at first, seen as mere illusions or malfunctions of sensors, but the repeated nature of the reports made them harder to ignore. The oldest and most experienced commanders, those who had survived countless wars and seen the rise and fall of entire star systems, found themselves uneasy. They felt something unfamiliar, lurking beyond the edges of their understanding, something that stirred a deep-rooted caution rarely seen among the Dominion's proud leaders. The Karath fleet did not slow or change course, but a careful watch was kept by every ship. Long-range sensors swept the darkness repeatedly, scanning for any sign of hidden threats or sudden ambushes. The atmosphere inside the command bridges was tense, not because they feared defeat, but because they sensed that this mission was different. The humans were not just another species to be conquered. The colonies might be young, but the power behind them was not fully known. For days, the alien ships moved closer to human space, their formation tight and disciplined, ready to strike at a moment's notice. The silent void of space around them suddenly felt heavier, as if something invisible was watching back. Communication between the ships became more cautious, coded in ways that even some within the Dominion did not fully understand. The Karath knew that if this unknown force was real, they could not afford to underestimate it. At the heart of the fleet, the Dominion's Supreme Commander, General Zaldrak, sat in his command throne, his many eyes scanning the tactical displays. He was a warrior known for his ruthless efficiency and cold logic, yet even he felt a prickling unease. His advisors had reported the strange signals, but Zaldrak refused to let fear cloud his judgment. Instead, he ordered his fleet to prepare for battle, instructing his captains to stay alert but confident. "The humans are untested," he declared. "We will show them the true strength of the Dominion." Yet as he spoke, a small flicker of doubt crossed his mind. What if these whispers were more than just rumors? What if humanity had secrets powerful enough to challenge the entire Dominion? Far ahead, near the edge of the known star systems, the human colonies prepared in their own way. They had little knowledge of the incoming alien fleet, relying on distant outposts to warn them of danger. The humans had built their settlements with care and hope, focusing on science and exploration rather than war. Their ships were smaller, less armed, but crewed by determined people who believed in their ability to survive and thrive. Back with the Dominion, a scout vessel suddenly reported detecting an unidentified ship, a shape larger and more complex than any human craft known to the aliens. The report sent a ripple of shock through the fleet. Commanders leaned closer to their screens, watching as the mysterious vessel slowly approached the outer borders of human space. It was unlike anything they had seen, an enormous ship, sleek but heavily armored, radiating a quiet but unmistakable power. The Karath officers exchanged uneasy glances. This was no simple colony ship or transport. It was a warship, a symbol of human strength and readiness that none had expected so soon. As the alien fleet watched this newcomer, their confidence faltered. The stories they had once dismissed now seemed more real, more dangerous. The humans were not just defenseless colonists. They had built something that could challenge the Dominion, something that could change the course of this encounter forever. The silence on the alien bridges was broken only by the soft hum of machinery and the whispered questions of those who dared to wonder if this would be the day the Dominion faced a foe unlike any before. As the ships drew closer, a cold realization spread through the Karath fleet. This war would not be as easy as they had believed. Something powerful and unknown had awakened in human space, and the Dominion would have to face it head-on. As the Karath Dominion fleet pushed deeper into the unknown regions near the human colonies, their advanced long-range sensors suddenly picked up something unusual, a rhythmic pulse unlike anything the Dominion had ever recorded. This signal was not random noise or the chatter of routine communications. It had a clear pattern, almost like a language, but one that did not match any of the countless codes stored in the Dominion's vast databases. The signal pulsed steadily, sending waves of information through space, repeating in a way that was too deliberate to be accidental. Many on the command bridges paused their usual operations to focus on deciphering the strange transmission. The Dominion's brightest codebreakers and communication experts gathered in urgent meetings, their eyes scanning patterns that twisted and shifted in perplexing ways. Some believed it was a challenge, a message from the humans that declared their readiness and power. Others thought it might be a warning, a signal meant to deter any approaching fleet from invading further. The debate grew heated as the leaders tried to understand the intent behind the pulses, but no conclusion came easily. Meanwhile, unknown to the Dominion's commanders, their own transmissions and sensor scans were being watched by human ships, hidden in the darkness. The humans had carefully studied the alien fleet's movements, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. Their technology was advanced in ways the Karath had yet to grasp, blending stealth and power in a way that made their presence almost ghost-like. The rhythmic pulse itself was part of this plan, a subtle signal designed not only to communicate but also to unsettle and confuse the approaching alien fleet. It was both a message and a test, sent to gauge how the Dominion would respond. As the signal continued, it seemed to ripple through the vastness of space, reaching every ship in the Karath Armada. Officers grew tense, their earlier confidence beginning to fade as the unknown force behind the pulse refused to reveal itself. Then, in the cold silence of space, the impossible happened. From the blackness emerged a shape so vast and commanding that it instantly drew the full attention of the alien fleet. The massive silhouette slowly came into view, outlined by the distant light of stars and the faint glow of distant nebulae. It was the USS Resolute, the human warship that had long been rumored but never seen. The ship's size alone was staggering. It was larger than any Karath dreadnought, yet sleek and angular, built not only for battle but for resilience and endurance. Its surface gleamed with a shimmering armor that seemed to absorb and reflect the light, hiding its true shape behind shifting patterns that made it almost impossible to target. The human vessel moved with a calm confidence, its engines humming softly as it took a position right at the edge of the Dominion fleet. Commanders stared at the view screens in disbelief, struggling to reconcile this new reality with their expectations. Their assumption that humans were weak, unprepared, and insignificant was shattered in an instant. The Resolute was a floating fortress, a symbol of human will and determination that seemed to radiate an energy far beyond any known weapon. No alarms had sounded from the human ship, no threats had been openly declared, but its presence alone was a powerful message. The silent arrival was louder than any declaration of war. It spoke of readiness, power, and a refusal to be underestimated. The Karath fleet's formation shifted as captains instinctively pulled their ships into tighter ranks, weapons powering up as their crews prepared for the unknown. Yet, even as they readied their defenses, the human warship remained still, almost serene, as if daring the Dominion to make the first move. Behind the bridge of the Resolute, the human commanders watched the alien fleet through multiple sensor arrays. They knew the stories the Dominion told themselves, stories of human weakness and vulnerability. The crew had trained for this moment for years, perfecting every system and tactic. They understood that their mission was not just to defend their colonies, but to send a message that humanity would never back down. The silent pulse they had sent was their first move, a way to unnerve and confuse the aliens. The arrival of their warship was the second, a visible, undeniable display of strength. Within the Dominion's ranks, confusion and fear began to spread. Officers who had once mocked the humans now whispered about the unknown powers the humans must hold to build such a vessel. Some speculated that the humans had access to technologies stolen from ancient ruins, or had made unexpected breakthroughs in science. Others believed the warship was just the beginning and that greater human fleets waited just beyond sensor range. As hours passed with no aggressive move from the Resolute, the alien commanders debated fiercely. Some urged caution, suggesting they retreat and reconsider their strategy. Others insisted on pressing forward, unwilling to lose face or concede the initiative. But even the most aggressive voices admitted privately that the humans had shaken the Dominion's certainty and arrogance. The longer the silent standoff continued, the more the Dominion realized they were facing an enemy unlike any before. The rhythmic pulse echoed through their ship's systems like a warning heartbeat, reminding them that the humans were watching, waiting, and ready to respond with overwhelming force if provoked. The silent signal, once a mystery, had become a symbol of human defiance and strength. As night fell across the stars of this distant region, the Karath Dominion's mighty armada hovered in tense silence, caught between fear and pride, between the desire to conquer and the recognition that this war would be harder than any they had fought before. In that quiet moment, a new truth settled over the fleet. Humanity was no longer a distant curiosity or a weak target. Humanity was a force to be reckoned with, and their first glimpse of the USS Resolute marked the beginning of a conflict that would test the limits of courage, technology, and the will to survive. The battle between the Karath Dominion and the human fleet erupted with sudden, fierce intensity, shattering all assumptions that had lingered in the minds of the alien commanders. Despite the Dominion's numerical advantage and their advanced technology, they soon realized that raw power alone was not enough to secure victory against the humans. The USS Resolute stood at the center of the conflict like an unyielding fortress, its massive hull glowing softly as energy shields flared under continuous attack. Around it, smaller human ships darted like hawks, weaving through the alien fleet with astonishing speed and precision. The Dominion had expected a straightforward conquest, a quick campaign against fragile colonies, but what they faced instead was a war unlike any they had encountered before. The humans fought with a combination of daring tactics and relentless determination that stunned even the most battle-hardened Karath veterans. From the start, the humans refused to engage in predictable, direct confrontations. Instead, they employed clever decoys, small, fast vessels emitting false signals that drew the Dominion's fire and attention away from their main forces. These decoys disappeared into the darkness before the aliens could deliver a killing blow, frustrating their efforts and wasting precious resources. At the same time, the Resolute and its escorts used advanced electronic warfare techniques that interfered with the Dominion's sensors and communications. The alien ships found their targeting systems flickering and their fleet coordination faltering as invisible digital attacks scrambled their controls. The humans seemed to anticipate every move, turning the Dominion's own technology against them with quiet efficiency. The alien commanders watched in disbelief as their formations broke apart under precise strikes. Rather than massed barrages of overwhelming firepower, the human ships focused on surgical hits, disabling engines, severing weapons arrays, and cutting through shield generators. Each hit was swift, unexpected, and devastating, carefully calculated to weaken the Dominion fleet without risking unnecessary exposure. The Dominion's proud battle lines soon became a chaotic jumble of damaged and retreating vessels. Behind the bridge of the USS Resolute, Captain Elena Voss remained calm, her hands steady on the control panel as she directed her forces with clarity and purpose. Years of training and simulations had prepared her crew for this moment, but the reality of facing the Karath fleet was far more intense than any exercise. Every decision counted, Every command had to be precise. Her officers moved quickly, relaying orders and adapting to the shifting battlefield with remarkable teamwork. It was not just technology that gave the humans an edge. It was their ability to think quickly, to improvise, and to act without hesitation. On the Dominion side, General Zaldrak's usual confidence began to crack. He realized too late that his underestimation of humanity had been a critical error. His ships, once symbols of unstoppable force, were now vulnerable and scattered. His attempts to rally his commanders fell on deaf ears as many began to focus on survival rather than victory. The sight of human vessels weaving through their lines, striking again and again without fear, planted seeds of fear and doubt among his officers. The battle became a test of endurance and willpower, with the humans refusing to yield despite the overwhelming odds. The Karath ships launched counterattacks, unleashing torrents of energy weapons and missile barrages, but the Resolute's adaptive armor absorbed and redirected much of the damage. The human fleet's resilience only grew stronger with every hit absorbed, turning the Dominion's assaults into opportunities for swift counterstrikes. As the fight dragged on, the Dominion fleet's numbers thinned and their movements became hesitant. The alien commanders saw their well-planned strategy unravel in real time. They were facing a species that learned from every encounter, adjusted tactics on the fly, and never backed down from a challenge. More than once, the humans exploited weaknesses in the Dominion's formations that only moments before had been considered secure. The battle was not just a clash of ships, but a collision of minds, an intense struggle between raw power and tactical genius. The Karath had never faced an enemy so adaptable, so fearless, and so determined to defend their home. As the sky around the colonies lit up with the flashes of energy and explosions, a profound shift occurred within the Dominion's ranks. The arrogance that had fueled their advance was replaced by respect, if not fear, for the human spirit. They recognized that this was not a simple fight for territory. It was a battle to prove who had the courage and strength to survive in the unforgiving void of space. The humans were no longer the unknown species of distant rumors. They were warriors who fought with a passion that inspired awe. Throughout the chaos, Captain Voss maintained her focus. She understood that the battle was far from over, but every strike, every maneuver brought them closer to securing the safety of the colonies. Her crew trusted her without question, knowing she would lead them through whatever challenges lay ahead. Around her, the Resolute systems hummed with life, its weapons firing with deadly accuracy, its shields shimmering as they took the brunt of the enemy's fire. The human fleet's cohesion and determination became a beacon of hope amid the storm of battle. In the final hours of the clash, the Dominion fleet began to retreat, battered and broken but not destroyed. Their commanders sent messages of withdrawal, their pride wounded, but their lives spared. The humans did not pursue aggressively, choosing instead to hold their ground and protect their colonies. The battle had been won not just with weapons, but with heart and mind. As the alien ships disappeared into the blackness of space, the humans celebrated quietly but confidently. They had proven that despite being outnumbered and underestimated, their ingenuity and courage could turn the tide of war. The galaxy had witnessed a turning point, where humanity stood tall against a powerful empire and emerged victorious. The clash of titans had ended, but its echoes would shape the future forever, reminding all who heard the tale that humanity's spirit was unbreakable, its courage limitless, and its will to survive stronger than any weapon. As the battered remnants of the Karath Dominion fleet retreated into the cold depths of space, a silence fell over the war-torn star system, marking the end of a fierce confrontation that no one had anticipated. The Dominion ships, once a relentless force moving with unshakable confidence, now carried crews filled with a strange mix of relief and reflection. They had survived, but they were forever changed. The overwhelming display of human resilience and strength had shattered their assumptions, leaving them with a deep, unsettling respect for the species they had once dismissed as weak and insignificant. Far from the battlefield, back on Earth, the crew of the USS Resolute gathered in the ship's central hall, a space filled with muted cheers and quiet pride. They celebrated not just the victory of weapons and technology, but the triumph of spirit, courage, and unyielding resolve. Years of training, sacrifice, and hope had led to this moment. Captain Elena Voss looked around at her crew, seeing the tired but determined faces of men and women who had stood against overwhelming odds and won. They had not only defended their homes and their future, but had sent a clear message to the galaxy. Humanity was no longer the fragile, unknown race at the edge of space. They were a powerful presence, capable of standing firm and facing any threat with bravery and intellect. News of the battle spread quickly through human space and beyond. Colonies that had lived in quiet fear now held their heads high, inspired by the courage displayed by the Resolute and its fleet. Scientists, politicians, and citizens alike discussed the meaning of the victory. It was not just a military success, but a turning point that would redefine humanity's role in the wider galaxy. The Karath Dominion's retreat was more than a tactical withdrawal. It was an admission that the age of easy conquest was over. The alien leaders would carry the memory of this encounter with them, a constant reminder that beneath humanity's calm exterior beat a heart of iron and fire. Across the Dominion's command centers, debates raged over what had gone wrong. How had a species they considered inferior shattered their fleet with such skill and determination? The answer lay not only in human technology, but in their unbreakable will to survive and protect what they held dear. The Karath, once proud and arrogant, were now forced to reconsider their strategies and perhaps even their attitudes toward the other species in the galaxy. In the aftermath, diplomatic channels opened slowly but deliberately. The humans, now aware of the vast network of civilizations beyond their own, approached negotiations with a new confidence. They were no longer the newcomers or the underdogs, but equal participants on the galactic stage. The story of the battle, of the Resolute's stand against overwhelming odds, became a symbol across star systems, a tale told and retold as a lesson in courage, innovation, and respect. On Earth, celebrations were tempered by solemn reflection. The cost of victory was never forgotten, lives lost, sacrifices made, and the sobering reality that future challenges awaited. Yet the mood was hopeful. Humanity had proven itself ready to face those challenges with open eyes and steadfast hearts. The Resolute and its crew prepared for new missions, knowing that the future of interstellar diplomacy and conflict would depend on their continued vigilance and bravery. In the quiet moments after the celebrations, Captain Voss stood on the observation deck, staring into the starry expanse. She felt the weight of responsibility, but also the thrill of possibility. The galaxy was vast, full of wonders and dangers alike. Humanity's first true test had been passed, but many more lay ahead. She knew that their story was just beginning. The terror that once gripped the alien fleet had transformed into a new chapter in the history of spacefaring civilizations. It was a chapter defined not by fear but by respect, by the understanding that strength was not measured by the size of an armada or the power of weapons alone, but by the courage and will of those who fought to protect their home and their future. As the stars twinkled silently above, a new era dawned, one in which humanity stood not in the shadows but boldly in the light, ready to shape the destiny of the cosmos with an unyielding spirit and a heart full of hope.